All right, it's time for Children's Church, so if the kids will make their way, and the wonderful blessing of those who are taking care of them, we're grateful. Appreciate that. All right. All right, for the rest of you, welcome to Old People's Church. I don't know what to call it. We're grateful for those who are watching online. I forget to mention that every once in a while, but we do have a number who do that, and we're thankful that you're spending that time with us. And also, it's so great to see Miss Pat Carter here today. It's been a good while since she had her hip surgery, and glad to see her smiling face, and it never fails that she has a smile on her face. I need to know the secret to that, but we're grateful to see her again here with us today, and grateful that you're here. And we're going to be spending some time in the book of Ruth today and looking at the story of Ruth. So we talk about the idea of calling on God for belonging. That's our theme for this month. We've been talking about calling on God, and I was just interested in the story of Ruth and how it relates to today and our journey. There's a study by the AARP that found that 1/3 of adults age 45 and older in the United States are lonely. And 35% of adults reported feeling lonely, and that is compared to 20% a decade earlier. There's a Cigna survey that said nearly half of all Americans report sometimes or always feeling alone or left out. And Generation Z, the 18 to 20-year-old category right now, is sometimes called the loneliest generation. And that's really interesting to me because it actually is the most connected generation ever. We have friends all around the world. We sit in front of a screen and we make friends with people and we play games with them and enjoy interaction, but feel lonely and detached because we're not in the same room with people. And so there's a lot to think about with that. It's important for Christians to learn that we call on God for belonging because everybody wants and needs to belong. And it's also true that we want to encourage those who are without Christ to know that there's belonging to be found in the family of faith. That when we gather here, it's not just that we're gathering here to worship God. That's true and that's happening and it's real. But it's also true that we speak to one another and give some hugs and shake hands and ask how we're doing. And there's connections there that are so important with everybody. That's why I tell people Bible class is so important. And I want to take a second and just thank you for your excellent attendance at Bible class. We have a great percentage of our members that stay for class, and I really think that's where we begin to build our friendships in the church. We spend some time with a smaller group of people. We get to know them. We talk to them, study together. And to me, that's a very powerful reason to have Sunday school. Mother Teresa said that if we have no peace, it's because we've forgotten that we belong to one another. And so this idea of belonging, I think it's really important. I wanted to think about what does that mean when we talk about belonging. It means we're talking about being accepted by God no matter what we've done in our past or what our past looks like, that at this moment we can come and belong to God and be fully accepted by Him. It means being a part of a church family, using our talents and our gifts, the things that we're good at, even if it's just smiling or offering an encouragement. But serving in some way, finding a way in the church family to use those talents. That's what belonging is. It's not just a place to go. It's a place where we pitch in and help. It means being aware of the hurts of others and using our experiences to bring comfort and help when they go through a difficult time, because all of us will go through difficult times, and it helps to know that there's somebody who's already been down that road who will like to go with us and who will walk with us for a period of time because they know what it's like. And then I think belonging means being a lighthouse of welcome in a polarized and accusatory and angry world. That's what I keep trying to escape in online groups like Facebook and all, is the anger, and the accusatory, the polarization. And, you know, I probably pretty much gravitated to groups that have pretty pictures and say, hey, good morning, because I don't want to see all this anger. But I think that the church should be a lighthouse in that angry world, a place where our focus is on God and on a kingdom to come and on the blessings of being in the life of Jesus. I think belonging is being aware of the mission of God as an outreach into the world, that we're not just here for us. We're here because there are a lot of people in this world who want to have what we have, who want to know peace, who want to know assurance, who want to be secure in their faith. And that's what Christ can provide, and being aware that that's our mission, to get that message out. All these things are things I think about when I use that word belonging. And I think all of those things battle against the loneliness that people experience today. So we're going to approach this subject through the story of two broken-hearted women. And that's the story of the book of Ruth. It reminds us of the power of love and loyalty and belonging and how important it all is. So the book of Ruth is really a story about going from being brokenhearted to belonging. Going brokenhearted to belonging. It's a beautiful, epic story. If you read it, you can read it in a short period of time. It's 4 short chapters. It's not a complicated story. It all has some elements that are different from what we're used to reading about, but I think it's very accessible to all of us. Naomi is the first woman that we read about there, and she has 2 sons who marry Moabite women. Now, she's an Israelite, and her sons married these Moabite women, and that seems to go against what God's always said. He wants you to marry within the community of Israel, but they married these Moabite women, and then Naomi's husband dies. They've gone to a new place because of a famine. They've gone to a new place, and there her husband dies, and also her sons die, leaving her with 2 daughters-in-law. And she encourages them to go home. You know, you married my sons, thank you. We get along well, I love you, but go home to your people. And one of them does, and we do not judge her for that. That seems like a wise decision, but the heroine of our story really is Ruth. She's the daughter-in-law who says, no, I'm going to stay. And so Naomi and Ruth go back to Bethlehem. And Ruth gleans in the fields. They're hungry, and they go to the fields, and there's a man whose name is Boaz, who is a wealthy landowner. He's a relative, actually, of Naomi. And Boaz shows kindness to Ruth, and Naomi instructs her to let's get this marriage train going. You know, people, you guys ought to get together. So she instructs her to go and approach him in a gesture known as uncovering his feet. And so he's asleep. It's night, and his feet are uncovered, and there's a lady laying down at his feet. And this is basically a gesture that says, we need to get married. And he's like, okay, sounds good to me. He's noticed Ruth's loyalty, her virtue, and he agrees to marry her. And Boaz and Ruth have a son, and his name is Obed. And Obed has a son, and his name is Jesse. And Jesse has a son, and his name is David, King David. And so we're seeing a part of this development of the story of Jesus way back, because Ruth is the great-grandmother of King David. And the most well-known verses in Ruth are in chapter 1, verses 16 and 17. Ruth, when Naomi says, look, go home to your people, Ruth says, don't urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. And where you stay, I will stay. And your people will be my people. And your God, my God. And in these words, Ruth makes a radical choice. She chooses to belong to Naomi's people and Naomi's God. And her loyalty and love are the beautiful story. So I wanted to think about 3 lessons about belonging that I see in this story, and hopefully in class we'll talk some more about those. But the first lesson I see is that we find belonging in sync with God's presence and mission. Now, all through here, we don't see that God is at work in the sense of God said do this, and God performed this, and God made this happen, but He's present in every corner of this story. Naomi has a relationship with God that's rocky. And anybody, husband or their children, understands that when that happens, your faith takes a hit, forsakes us on the Bethlehem road. His silence does not equate to his absence. There's no divine revelation in the story of Ruth. There are no spectacular miracles. The message of Ruth's story is that God is at work in the darkest times for our good and Christ's glory, and he will see to it that the glory of his Son fills the earth and that in him we find everlasting joy. And so I think when we think about the idea of belonging, we want to live our life in sync with God's mission. We want to focus ourselves, what does God want me to do in my life today and in this world today? How does he want me to reach out? Because I know that even if I can't see or perceive in some specific way that God is with me, I know he is with me behind the scenes working in ways I can't see. And so if you feel God may be absent or has dealt harshly with you, turn your focus to the reality of his presence